What's good, YouTube? Crown Jewel from Crown Jewel Boxing, back with a gem. Want to come on and talk to y'all with a few things today. A lot going on in the boxing world. Haymon and PBC, Checkmates, Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya, one more time. Bob Arum conflicts the stories that we've been given from Bill Haney and Devin Haney. Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, sounds like it's in play. Why hasn't Devin Haney mentioned Tank's name since they've both been available? Boots, Jerron Boots Ennis, Philadelphia Phenom, future of the welterweight division, fighting here in Atlantic City in a few weeks. Regis Prograis, last performance. And is Teofimo Lopez's retirement real? We'll get into all of that.
That's each score, 40-36. While Judge Barbara Perez has it 39-37. All for the winner by unanimous decision, Crown Jewel.
You know it's AB, always balling, always boarding, a lot of bills. You know what's going on, man. You know, shout out to Crown Jewel Boxing, man. You know, my people. You know, they get it in over there, straight up.
Lamar Peterson giving a shout out to CrownJewelBoxing.com.
First off, Oscar De La Hoya has to be seething right now. We all know, you know, those of us that follow boxing know that the PBC, for all intents and purposes, demoted Golden Boy or dethroned them from the top boxing promoter in boxing quite a few years back, when pretty much all of their premier fighters left Golden Boy abruptly upon Haymon establishing PBC, and he took all his fighters with him. From there, they established Mayweather Promotions. They worked with Tom Brown. They worked with quite a few other promoters, but he basically took all of his top fighters from Golden Boy, and that set Golden Boy back a great deal. Golden Boy went through another hiccup when their star athlete, Saul Canelo Alvarez, decided to part ways with them. And they've basically, you know, said things since then, and behind the scenes, I believe, have tried to get Canelo back because the company just quite has never recovered. From there, well, checkmate. Haymon calls checkmate. Why? Because he just signed Saul Canelo Alvarez to a 3-fight deal. Somebody check on Oscar De La Hoya, because I know he has to be seething. That is an interesting signing by the PBC, as there are quite a few fights, quite a few possibilities that could be the fighters over at PBC that Canelo will face in this 3-fight deal. I have my opinion. You guys all know that I've always said that Canelo has a tough time with athletic guys with quick feet. We all know Charlo is an athletic guy with quick feet. So I'm not saying they won't, because he has been off a couple years, but I doubt that that's the fight they're looking at. I think he's probably looking at the bigger star, the bigger draw, and the guy who's been compromised by a car accident in Errol Spence. Don't get me wrong, I got Errol Spence picked to beat Terrence Crawford. I'm a huge Errol Spence fan. I think he's an immense talent. But I do believe since the post-car accident Errol Spence is less athletic and doesn't have the legs and the agility that he had prior to the car accident. It's interesting because I saw an interview where he said he didn't do any physical therapy. I wish he had, because his physical therapy may have been able to restore some of the dexterity in his legs. And maybe, you know, the lack of dexterity in his legs that I see, the stiffness, the change in his athleticism, maybe that could have been changed had he went to a professional physical therapist that was able to rehab him properly. But I think we have a chance to see Canelo's probably going to get a soft touch first. And if Errol Spence is able to beat Terrence Crawford, I think you're going to end up seeing in the final fight on PBC, Canelo Alvarez and Errol Spence. So that's very exciting, you know. Canelo has a big Mexican following. There are plenty of Mexicans in Texas, which is where Errol Spence campaigns out of. We all know Texas was once Mexico. So they would definitely fill Cowboy Stadium. It would be a major event, much bigger than Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, which I think is a huge event, but that's big news. Also, Devin and Bill Haney. I'm going to call them Cap Sr. and Cap Jr. Once again, they've put their foot in their mouth. Why do I say that? Because they both said they met with Bob and Shakur's name has not been mentioned. Now, you can choose to believe that or not. But Bob has come out in an interview and blatantly said, the fight I want most on YSM Media, came out and said, the fight I want most, shout out to YSM Media too, is Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney. He was asking who does he want most for Devin Haney. He said Shakur Stevenson. I have a really tough time believing legendary promoter Bob Arum actually wants that fight most for Devin Haney, but in talking, publicly he said this, but in talking with Bill Haney, he didn't mention Shakur's name. Doesn't make sense to me. So, not only that, Devin Haney, Bill Haney, you've always had that energy that you didn't really want to fight Shakur, so that's not really different. But that energy has switched up on Gervonta Tank Davis. When Gervonta Tank Davis was not in a position to name his own opponents because he was still with Mayweather and they were kind of choosing his fights, or when you guys were contractually obligated in a 3-fight deal for George Kambosos twice and Vasily Lomachenko, which we all knew those were the opponents of the 3-fight deal prior to you even taking a fight, Devin was screaming Tank's name every time you turn around. Now we know it was only for clout to bring attention to himself in an attempt to bring some of Tank's shine and attention over to himself. I knew that anyway because he tries to dress like him. He tries to talk like him. Even his father is trying to talk like him. Now all of a sudden he's giving instruction talking about the brick hand. We know that's been a Tank thing. I mean, just about everything he does, he might as well wake up in the morning and say, I want to be Gervonta Tank Davis. But again, now that he's a free agent, he's not obligated to fight anybody. Tank has cleaned up his side of the street. He's not obligated to fight anybody. We have not heard him say, or his father, Gervonta Tank Davis' name not one time. Again, Cap Sr., Cap Jr. Y'all clout chasers, in my opinion. Huge fight. I think it's a little too late, but it's still a competitive fight. And I think it'll be competitive because they both decreased a step. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua in the Middle East. Huge, huge, huge fight. I got Deontay Wilder winning because Anthony Joshua has a horrible chin. Deontay Wilder's been stopped too, so there is a puncher's chance for Anthony Joshua, but I think his chin is just a little more fragile than Deontay Wilder. And I think Deontay Wilder is a slightly bigger puncher. Well, not even slightly, he's a bigger puncher. Anthony Joshua may be a little more skilled, but not enough that he'd be able to avoid Deontay Wilder's right hand. He's going to catch him with a right hand off the jab. I don't think the fight goes more than 2 or 3 rounds. It'll be a Mike Tyson style knockout. But again, huge event. Happy to see it. Good for boxing. Boots. Jerron Boots Ennis. I'm so excited as a native to right outside of Atlantic City. I won't give my particular town, but everybody knows that knows me. I'm from the Atlantic City area. I've been involved all around the fight scene here since the mid-'80s, and I've seen the heyday, and I've seen it dwindle down all the way to a drought. I'm glad to see we have a big fight coming in the very near future, and Jerron Boots Ennis, who will be taking on Villa, who just had the biggest win of his career against Rashidi Boots Ellis. We know in that press conference, Speedy Rashidi Ellis was making a whole lot of tough talk and, I mean, just throwing darts at Boots and, you know, implying that he would love to get the fight and Boots is scared of him and Boots ain't built like that and all these things he said. We about to find out in this fight on the 8th that Jerron Boots Ennis and Rashidi Ellis are 2 totally different people. I believe Jerron Boots Ennis is the future of the welterweight division. I believe he's the class of the welterweight division, which is why you're not going to see Earl Spencer, Terrence Crawford fight him. They're going to fight each other, handle their business, and then they're going to move up. It's going to be his division. He's going to be the heir to the throne. And like I said, you're going to see the difference between the guys like Boots Ennis, Rashidi Ellis, Victor Ortiz. Those guys aren't Boots Ennis. I've watched this guy for a very long time. I've seen him in the gym sparring heavyweights. I see how hard he works. He's a gym rat. The things you hear about him are true. He's the real deal. And I'm so glad that they've chose Atlantic City to have this showcase fight for him, because Atlantic City's been devoid of a star here since Arturo Thunder Gotti. It's wide open. He's only from 45 minutes up the road in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Why not make this Jerron Boots Ennis headquarters and allow Atlantic City to ride his back to the top? As he ascends in the sport, Atlantic City can ascend back to its rightful place and become, it'll probably never be the boxing capital of the world again, but be right there, right behind Vegas. So shout out to Showtime, the OG Bozy Ennis, and of course the most important person, Jerron Boots Ennis. Atlantic City welcomes you with open arms. We can't wait to see you do your thing in Boardwalk Hall in a couple weeks. Regis Prograis admittedly had a bad performance in this last fight. He was able to win a controversial decision. He was knocked down. It wasn't called a knockdown. He admitted in a post-fight press conference he did get knocked down. He didn't remember the knockdown, which means he was hurt. But he did find a silver lining, saying that maybe people will want to fight him now because he had a bad performance. That may or may not happen. But again, he's up in age. He's been fighting a long time. He did recently become a world champion for the second time. We got a question. Was that one bad night? Was it an awkward opponent who was defensive and didn't allow him to look good in the fight? Or has he lost a step and is he on his way down? And if that's the case, I really hate it for him, because he's finally in position to really start making some money and be involved in big mega fights. And, you know, it may be midnight. He may be on his way out. So if that is the case, and only he and his people really know the truth about that at this point, I suggest they go after all the money they can. Try to entice Devin into a fight. Try to get Teofimo Lopez into a fight, because he's going to have to go and get his money real soon, because he's starting to decline. With that being said, Teofimo Lopez was said to have vacated his title and is telling everybody that will listen that he's retired. Do I believe him? Absolutely not. Why? Because he's actually complained that he's making all this money for ESPN and he's only fighting for $1 million a fight. I think it's very frustrating for him to see the other younger guys making much more money than him, becoming much bigger stars than him, and him not seeing him winning some major fights and becoming a champion, but not seeing the monetary gain that he thinks he should get in those fights. I say two things. One, it's the contract you sign. You negotiate. You don't get what you deserve. You get when you negotiate, number one. Number two, he's just not a Gervonta Tank Davis type of star. Why? Because he doesn't market himself as well. Neither one of them are Edgar Allan Poe when they're speaking. But Teofimo Lopez is terrible when he's speaking. Says all the wrong things. I hope he changes that. I hope they get him some media coaching and he learns how to market himself. That way he doesn't have to have tactics like Jay-Z did after Nas spanked him by saying, "Hey, I quit," to get people to gravitate towards him. And I think that's all it is. I think he's trying to bring attention to himself. I think he's trying to drive the demand up, which will in turn be implemented or show itself in his bank account. You know what I mean? So he'll start seeing the type of monetary gains that he thinks he deserves for the level of success he's attained in the sport. With that being said, that's all I have for y'all today. I know it's been a while, but I appreciate y'all rocking with me. For those of y'all wondering about the glasses, I have a food allergy. When I eat something I shouldn't eat, my face swells up. The swelling is going down now, but the effects are still show, so I didn't want to come on and show y'all my eyes while I'm dealing with this food allergy. But until next time, keep your hands up, your chin down, your ass off the floor.